It's been a really interesting few weeks, 4 in fact, since I recorded some reference in one of my videos to the fact that I had experimented at the beginning of May with an artificial intelligence program called Claude.ai. On the 6th of May, I had watched a few videos, 3 or 4, by a channel called The Nerdy Novelist, in which he talked about his experimentation with and then adaptation of ChatGPT and Claude and some other software he's been working with and testing for his own writing purposes. He spoke of how he was using those to create prompts that would then populate aspects of a story outline and give him ideas into which he could plug particular characters or behavior and personality aspects of those people within his stories, and using that to create first an outline, then a detailed draft, and then actually a whole story. A month ago when I went to the coffee shop and I spent 4 hours there, and I came out with something more than 20,000 words, which of course is an incredibly productive time. And I've had various conversations with friends since then about the use of AI and the creation of full detailed stories written using AI, and I can actually see the value of it. When I first came across the idea of using AI to create content, I watched a ton of videos on that particular morning and made a massive notes in my anchor journal, which have served me very well because I've gone back to quite a lot of those sources over the month of May. Today I went to one of my favourite coffee shops here in Bradford in England, and I went to a coffee shop called Left Terrace, which is a regular place for me, and I enjoy writing there at one of 2 or 3 particular tables that I feel comfortable at and which I really like. And today I was taking aspects of a story that has been written, but also then going through it on this yellow page, and lots of yellow pages within here, and updating and adding detail to the creation of that book. I refer to it as a story. This is a non-fiction book about my work and activity as a rental landlord. But it was the idea of using ChatGPT, or in this case Claude.ai, to rapidly outline some ideas I had already been working on for a few months in my notebooks and in my little pocket journals that you've seen me carry around in this wrist bag. So I took those notes, and that was what gave me the background for the prompts that I fed into the software a month ago. The book stands now at almost 40,000 words, which is quite incredible, given that I've taken it from the 4 hours which I used to produce that 20,000+ word outline, and then over the course of the month of May, I've got to 30 hours of activity. That's 30 hours of me back in coffee shops or here at my desk upstairs on the top floor of the house. Might call it a study, but really it's just one of the rooms in the attic, and adding words again and again to my original 20,000 word manuscript. Now I'm at 40,000 words, and it's close to becoming a book. If I've only done 31 or so hours in a month, and I think I do the same again across the month of June, that would mean that in probably 60 or 70 hours, I have a book that I can be proud of, that is my intellectual property, but where the pace at which the manuscript came together has been rapidly pushed forward by the use of prompts. If you've never used software like AI to work with a story or to create a rapid outline, I think you should. I really enjoyed it. 10 days ago I went over to Bridlington to see my friend Sue. She's a very prolific writer of rural fantasy stories that involve a lot of folklore, a little bit of gentle magic. And we had a day together. We went to a garden centre, we had lunch there. I had some time walking along the beach where I filmed one of the videos that I uploaded the other week about the spring tide just coming in repetitively, and that as a writing places video. But one of the conversations that Sue and I inevitably had was, is the AI a good thing to use? Will I lose my identity? Can my character have an impact on the output of the software that we work with? And my answer, much more strongly than I had imagined, was yes, yes, and yes to all of those questions, because all the AI is a digital assistant which extracts information from all over the internet, brings it together, and then the work begins in thinking, I don't like this, that's incorrect, I don't like the tone of voice in the manuscript, I would put some personal case studies into each of the dozen chapters. Just to illustrate that point about the final work being your work, even before we talk about Grammarly and plagiarism software, today I was looking at a very small number of pages. So I've got 4 pages of double-sided content that came out of my work in the middle of May. And sitting in the coffee shop, working on just this little section of half of a chapter, I've come out with 2 pages of handwritten amendments, a 3rd page, a 4th page, and a 5th page. Is there another? Yes. So actually 6 pages of handwritten notes. And what I've done here is I've taken the version that I had when I went into the coffee shop this morning, and I've circled little areas where I think I need a new paragraph between these two. I need to insert a whole new topic in this particular chapter. So, for example, it's about being a lodger landlord or a spare room landlord. And what I felt was missing in the 3rd version, which is where the manuscript is at the moment, what I felt was missing when I sat down this morning was something talking about the sense of building or creating community in the house. So it might be a 2-bedroom house where, in this case, I would be the landlord and I would bring in one housemate or lodger. Or it could work for a 3 or 4-bedroom house where the landlord rents out the other 3 rooms, and it becomes quite important to create a sense of community spirit or involvement and engagement so that all 4 people living under the same roof have some involvement in household activities, chores. Maybe we eat together once a month in an environment like that. In the house where I am at the moment, this one in England, with the 3 housemates that I've got, I make it my responsibility to go out one night a month or one afternoon at a weekend each month with each of the people in the house. And that's important because it means it's one-to-one time. It is very difficult sometimes being a residential landlord, i.e. living in the property. I've been a landlord who's apart from his portfolio before, where I managed some of the houses and letting agents handled the rest for us. But in this particular situation here in this house, I share it with 3 other people. So every now and again, we will coincide that a couple of us are cooking, and so we may end up eating dinner together. One of our housemates invited me out for a social event last week to eat with him and some friends, and I enjoyed that. Last month, a lodger who's been with us for 3 months on a study in the UK programme, sponsored by the British Council and his government, came to the house, and Last month I went out for the whole day to a heritage village close to us on the outskirts of Bradford, and we went to this vast mill called Salts Mill, where they have tea rooms, an outdoor goods shop, an antiques market, some brilliant shops selling kitchenware and rugs and more artwork, and my favourite place, which is the stationery department and the arts and crafts supply department, when you first get to the building on the 1st floor. And we had a great day, and it was part of his being in the UK, but also me wanting to treat him to another insight into aspects of Yorkshire away from Bradford city centre, away from the university campus where he has spent those 3 months, and to be able to go home with other memories and share those with friends and family who have missed him for 3 months. So little stories like that, or vignettes, I've been putting into this particular manuscript so that I can use it and start to develop case studies. But that's just a little aspect of what's been happening over the last month. It's just my first use of AI, and I've really enjoyed it. But I've also made, I think, really great progress because I've never before been in a place where I can see the idea of a manuscript, the outlining of it, the production of a first, second, and third draft that I'm on at the moment. But also, I've never been able to take a manuscript and bring it to market in 60 days. I'm absolutely convinced that's what's going to happen. One of my tasks this week is to look at book covers on Fiverr and 99 Designs to see what I can find and what I can do within a budget of perhaps $100 for a good cover. But watch this space. I think by the end of June and early July, I will be able to report back and say, I've got that book done and it's up and running and it's on sale. That's been a very significant aspect of the last month. And what it really reminds me to talk about in terms of the context of my books, which are really about thoughtful spending or frugal living. So the climbing out of debt and the 10-minute budget title in particular. So that example of working with AI has been completely fascinating for me, and it continues to be so. I'm doing all the hard graft now to create a book, but the AI has effectively, in those 31 hours, served me really well as a digital assistant. I could have been sending that email containing this document to a personal assistant at significant cost, saying, these are my ideas, can you work on A, B, C, D, and E? And that might have come back to me 2 weeks later or a month later with some ideas that have been amplified, fleshed out, and developed into much more specific chapters than I could do quickly over a month myself. And that would have been a huge help. But with AI, I haven't needed to do that. My job and your task as the author when you're looking to use that form of software to aid your writing process is to define the prompts that you use by asking questions and giving guidance to the software, because that's all it is. Giving it that direction so that you get back increasing quality based on your learning of how to ask the right questions. That ties in with another activity that I've been involved with for a couple of months, and it's the medium.com platform where you can write an article or multiple articles, submit those to publishing on the platform either simply and easily in your own name, and that's what I've been doing for my first 2 months on the platform, or you can send them to and promote them to publications which are like digital magazines inside Medium, and you get instant feedback. So far, we're on the 6th of June. I've written 5 articles since the month began. So today I have to write another one after I've recorded this video. I know what it's going to be about, but I've already got financial credits added to my writing account on Medium for those 5 articles. The oldest of them is 5 days old, but already I'm showing a few cents worth of income. I think the lowest is 27 cents and the highest is 54, which in 5 days on 5 articles is a couple of dollars. Now, on YouTube, which is the other platform I use, of course I use it, I'm here on YouTube, aren't I? But on YouTube, the revenue you get is slow. Certainly it took me 2.5 years to get this particular channel monetized, which means you earn a revenue share on the advertising that you and I see in the videos that we watch as we subscribe to different channels and enjoy their content. The revenue share is good, but I think I will earn more on Medium in the month of June, which will be my 3rd full month here on the platform, than I will earn in YouTube this month. And that's really interesting because to get instant feedback, i.e. people will clap or applaud for your article, they may highlight some of the things you've written, or they will indeed add a comment after you finish that particular story. They call them stories, story, article, piece, that's what they may be. Last night, for example, the piece I published, the piece that I wrote and uploaded in the space of an hour with a downloaded image to encapsulate the message of that particular article, was one about the financial retirement adverts we see saying, have you got $500,000 or £500,000 set aside for your retirement? Obviously what those funds and investment management teams want to do is bring you on board as a new client and earn their fees from managing or looking after your funds until your retirement date. My article that I wrote last night was a response to, or my sharing of, how frustrated I get when I see those adverts, because I know that retirement is hugely supported by my income being a rental landlord, by being a spare room landlord, such that our individual housing costs are covered by the fact that we have 3 housemates. Those worries and distractions were taking me away from comfortable, inspired, right brain activity, and I was living very much in my left brain of worry and analysis and fear of not being able to put food on the table, let alone pay the rent in the properties I was living in. And that's why I wanted to share some of this information in this video, because I've always seen the link between rental income and the creation of books. For me, there's always been a really strong logical and practical dynamic between the inflow of rental income and that mental relief and thinking, oh, my bills are covered, I can go to the coffee shop, I can work with my bullet journals, or I can take something as silly but robust as the Alpha Smart Neo, and I can sit at the coffee table and write and create, because that mental stress of worrying about the bills is not there. And I'm not suggesting that, for example, anybody can go out and secure a property and put 1 or 2 housemates in it to cover the costs, or the vast majority of the monthly costs. But it's been the route that I ended up choosing so that I could find my feet as a writer without the mental stress of worrying about whether I had the time to write. So having that extra side income, whether it's from this thing called a side hustle or a side income, which I think I prefer as a phrase, but it doesn't matter. You have extra money coming in so that you know you can meet your bills, which frees you up mentally to say, I'm going to create today, I'm going to write, I'm going to grab my pen and my notebook, and I'm going to sit down at the kitchen table and I'm going to take some ideas from here, review them and expand them into 500 words or 1,000 words, and put pen to paper perhaps, or keyboard, and create something that you can be happy about and proud of. I don't think so much that the creating is about doing it for money. I've never written a book for money. I've received money for some of my books, and one particular book I received a lot of money. Ironically, it was my first book. But you keep going and you keep bringing the ideas from here, pulling them through your creative mind and turning them into something that you can be happy with, certainly proud of, but normally happy about, and knowing that you've created something that is useful or helpful. I say that because I'm writing non-fiction again with this latest spare room manuscript. But find what you can create alongside your day job or your income from other sources, so that you are able to build that private space where you know that if you take 2 hours out here or 2 hours over there and you go and create, you can completely manage that. I love the fact that last month I received just under $3 from Medium, which was the payment for my first full month on Medium. You know what I did? I took my laptop, I went to the coffee shop and I bought myself a coffee. Yes, it cost £3 and not $3, but that wasn't the point. Basically, I had bought myself an hour in a coffee shop because of only a few articles that I'd written in that previous month, and I got paid on the 8th of the next month. And I think that's an amazing aspect of Medium, that you could write, edit, and publish in the same moment. Like I said, it takes me about an hour to write an article on Medium. But you can write and publish that particular story and know that you're going to get paid for it the next month. You don't know who's going to read it, who's going to give it applause, who's going to add a comment and interact with you because your story touched them in some way, that they felt compelled to say thank you or to share what memories that particular story had brought up for them. But it's an amazing platform. Yes, this is a video for YouTube, but my side income from creativity comes from YouTube, Skillshare, and Medium. And those are all things that I would recommend as part of the process of you building other income from your creative activity. Grab some paper and ask yourself, what could I do to create a video product or an audio file that somebody would willingly pay for and download? Could you put books on the Apple bookstore or Kindle or Kobo? Could you create something on a platform called Gumroad? I've been looking at and conversing with quite a few writers this past month who are all, by chance, Medium writers. And many of those have little products, 10,000, 15,000 word PDFs that are downloadable and which they host on the Gumroad platform. Gumroad allows you to upload a file of what you've created. This week I've looked at Gumroad quite closely, and I was thinking, if I could create 4 10,000 word pamphlets or mini booklets on the same topics that I have already got 50 and 60,000 word manuscripts, but adding a different angle, a fresh perspective, more bullet points or actionable ideas, I can put those on Gumroad. And what I discovered this week, which I had no knowledge of before, is that if you choose to revenue share with the Gumroad platform, what they will actually do is use that as their incentive, because they're going to earn revenue by doing so, and they will promote your product to the many hundreds of thousands of people who have in some way interacted with them and purchased products from their online platform. All of this really to say, I hope that you can find another source of revenue, maybe several incomes, alongside your day job or your core earning activity. You can clear down debt, you can use that money to settle bills that have been outstanding or to clear some form of liability that has had you worried. And you can instead, with that creative aspect of your brain, focus on producing something that could cause you to be more relaxed, happier, and potentially to create income sources that will pay you regular amounts of money from any number of platforms that will allow you to continue your creative journey, knowing that that is funded. I hope that's been useful. It's just me sharing a little bit about exploring the ideas that are there for you to create one or two other sources of regular revenue, which continues to further boost and help and encourage you mentally to continue with your creative journey. My next job for today is to write an article, edit it for a little bit, add a picture, and upload it to Medium. What are you going to do as your next creative activity today or in the coming few days? Wherever you are, whatever you're writing, good luck with that activity or that project. And please leave some comments here for the video. If you've got some questions about the Medium platform, for example, put those in the comments here, and I will do my best to respond and answer them. Happy writing.